This recipe for Chipotle-glazed shrimp is sponsored by Squarespace. Skewer your new website for 10% less by using my link and code in the description. This has been a favorite summertime meal in our house for many years, a skewer of shrimp glazed with honey and chipotle peppers. The rice is a garlicky cilantro lime rice, super summery. The first thing we'll need is shrimp. I was just down on the Georgia coast where my shrimp came from. Beautiful shrimp they fish out there, and they're on the large side, which I would recommend for this recipe. These are head off but shell on. They have not been cut down the back or quote-unquote deveined. I think the easiest way to cut them is not with a knife but with scissors, kitchen shears, and the best kitchen shears, IMHO, are the ones that come apart so you can really clean them. You just snip up the back. When the processors do this, they stop right there, which makes it really hard to deshell the tail. If you're doing this yourself, you can keep going right through the tail, which makes it really easy to peel the whole shrimp. Now there's the euphemistically monikered vein, actually the shrimp's intestinal tract. I think it's easier to worry about that later. I'll just blast through the rest of these peels. I've got a pound of shrimp here, half a kilo, which should be enough for 2 or 4 people, depending on how hungry you are. Do yourself a favor and right away get those shells into your freezer for stock or onto your compost heap or into the trash, whatever, but do it now because they're going to start to stink up your kitchen right away. A clean plate with some paper towels on it, and now is when I will wash my peeled shrimp in the sink and remove the vein. I'm putting them on the paper towels because the shrimp for this recipe really need to be dry or the glaze won't adhere or brown well. For the same reason, I'll press on their tops with some paper towels. Lovely. Now I'll make the glaze. I learned this glaze years ago from a chef I knew in Boston named Tony Rosenfeld. He's got a burger chain there called Be Good, and this recipe is in his excellent cookbook. It starts with honey, so it's time to summon forth the upside-down bear. I'm putting in, at most, like a half a cup of honey, 100 mils or so, and then we need these chipotle peppers canned in adobo sauce. This is one of the most convenient and potent flavor sources in the kitchen. We need like half of one of these standard 7.5 ounce or 212-gram cans. If you want to mitigate the heat of these smoked chilies, you can cut them in half and try to scrape out some of the seeds and ribs, but that's not as effective as it is with a fresh chili. The capsaicin is kind of soaked through everything in the canning process, but they weren't even that hot to begin with. I'll just chop those up as finely as I can. Rosenfeld uses a food processor. I just don't want to get mine out and wash it. Okay, then in that goes into the honey. Make sure to get a few spoonfuls of that adobo sauce from the can. What can you do with this half a can of leftover stuff? I put it into a little baggie and then freeze it for next time. Then we need a big squeeze of tomato paste. This is for the color more than anything else. It'll make the shrimp very red. And for me, that's it. I'll just stir it up. Rosenfeld puts vinegar and mustard in it. You could do that, but I've found that I prefer to get my acid by squeezing fresh lime on my shrimp at the table. Plus, the glaze cooks better if it has less moisture, but if you don't want to squeeze lime on your shrimp at the end, definitely put a glug of vinegar in this, or some lime juice. Gorgeous. Let's get our rice started. A little pot on medium heat, some olive oil, and in goes a cup and a half of basmati rice, 300 grams, not rinsed. I want to toast that loose, dry outer coat of starch they have, just like making risotto. Gets you a toasty flavor. If you want super fluffy rice that doesn't clump up at all, you could rinse your rice first, but I don't think it makes a huge difference with a long grain rice like basmati, which is low in amylopectin. That's the starch that makes rice sticky. After it's toasted a minute, I want to put in some garlic, and I am increasingly using my garlic press these days since I realized I don't have to peel the garlic first, like 3 or 4 cloves. See, the skin stays behind. Do a few little pieces of skin, make it into the pot? Yes. Have I ever noticed them in the finished product? Nope. I'll just scrape that off, stir it in, let the garlic cook for a minute, then in goes a teaspoon of kosher salt, like 6 grams, and I'm doing 3 parts water to 2 parts rice, so that means 2 1/4 cups of water, 530 mils. Last thing is to scrape in the zest of a lime. If you don't have a microplane grater like this, I highly recommend one. It is a cheap little thing that is very good at several jobs. Okay, stir that up, bring it to a boil, cover, and then take the heat all the way down to low. It'll be perfect by the time the shrimp are ready. We're going to broil our shrimp, that is, cook them on the highest rack underneath a glowing top element. Brits call it a grill. Get that heating, and now I will skewer my shrimp. They will be much more stable on here if the skewer goes through each shrimp twice, once through the tail and once through the body, nice and secure. Make sure that you don't bunch them up on there too tight. You want each shrimp to have plenty of delicious surface area. I'm going to cook these on a baking sheet with a rim and a rack on top. The rack is necessary to keep the shrimp from sitting in the excess glaze that is going to burn under the broiler. I've got a silicone pastry brush here, and the first coat of that beautiful glaze goes on, nice and heavy. Now is when I season my shrimp. I would have no idea how much salt to put into the glaze, but I know how much salt I like on a shrimp, so I can eyeball this easily if I just season the shrimp instead of the glaze. At least the first side of the shrimp. We'll get the other side later. Right under a glowing red broiler this goes, and after 2 or 3 minutes, I'll pull it out and glaze them again. Doing multiple coats like this really helps build a thick lacquered finish on each shrimp. 3 or 4 minutes after that, the second coat looks cooked, so I'll flip the skewers around and glaze the other side, nice and thick. And I also need to season this side because I haven't done that yet. I'm being pretty aggressive with the salt because I know some of it is going to fall off. Speaking of which, the runoff into your drip pan might start to burn and stink up the house around now. You can prevent that by simply pouring in a little water. Carefully push that in so it doesn't slosh. A few minutes later, I'll do the fourth and final coat, really slopping it on. I wish I could tell you how long to cook your shrimp, but it really depends on their size and the strength of your broiler. Mine took 15 minutes total. I usually judge shrimp doneness by how much they curl up. I want to see them visibly curled, but not quite into a tight little ball. It just takes some experience, and it depends on how cooked you like them. The last time under the broiler is usually the longest for me because this is my chance to get some really nice browning. This is why bigger shrimp work better, by the way. Little shrimp would be overcooked by the time you got any color on them. Alrighty, out these come, nice and careful to keep from sloshing the drip pan, and look at those little jewels, spicy shrimp candies. Time to finish the rice. A little lime juice goes a long way in something like this. Half a lime was enough for me. You can always taste and add. I'll tear in a whole bunch of cilantro and then stir it around. I tend to like my rice a little clumpy. I think it's just more satisfying to bite into, but again, if you don't, rinse your rice first. But because it's basmati, you can see it's still quite fluffy. On goes a shrimp skewer, and I would consider that lime wedge essential. That sweet glaze needs to be balanced with acid. If you don't want to squeeze lime on at the end, really, put some lime or vinegar in the glaze to begin with. Best way to push stuff off a skewer is with a fork, and those are so flavorful. Smoky, sweet, caramelized. It really is spicy shrimp candy, which I think would be a great mail order business, don't you? Such an enterprise would require a website, and Squarespace is a one-stop solution. Everything you need to build and run a website is right here. You choose a template, you throw in your pictures and your words, you register a custom domain name if you want one, and then if you need to sell things, you just drop in a product block. Squarespace will handle all the credit card transactions. You just fulfill the orders and let the money roll in. You can even use Squarespace to send out email blasts to your customers. They host your site for you, so Squarespace is the only company you have to deal with when it comes to doing your e-commerce. It's so simple. Do us both a favor and save 10% on your first site or domain registration by going to squarespace.com/Ragusia and using my code Ragusia. That's in the description. Thank you, Squarespace, and thank you, Shrimpers of Georgia. You make my summers far more summery. Oh, by the way, that rack can be hard to clean. I put the whole broiling rig in the sink, then flip the rack around and flood the pan with soapy water. Let that soak in there for a bit. You'll have a much easier time cleaning it.